Right, folks, we're now at the 18th of January, and I'm in Cloverhill here, and just to confirm, just the people get a. I don't know if that does not come up well, Stephen. On
Tilt it down a little bit. Tilt it down. Can we have a look down?
That way.
Yeah. You couldn't necessarily say it, but yeah, I know it's a prison anyway. I've been there.
Right. Okay. Now that's just to give people there's no. This is all about transparency, accountability, and fair play now. And given what has gone on over the course of now the last 10 years, I've had a walk through the system that I never wanted to have. But look, I think anyone that has watched the post office and Mr. Bates in the post office, which has been on ITV over the course of the last few weeks now, can get a sense of how much lies various parties will tell to protect their own interests when the shit hits the fan, I suppose. And that's exactly what has gone on in this instance. But look, for today, I just want to go through the process that has brought us to this point from a legal perspective from June 22. So on the 18th of June, we go into the property at Foley's. I go in with my briefcase, my phone. We walk in through a door at 10 o'clock in the morning, an open door. We are met by one of the staff who was not that happy we were there. But look, we weren't that happy. Even the receivers arrived in Master Dairies with fraudulent paperwork. I now know. So that's that morning of then that leads to the guards landing, breaking into the property, breaking me up. This is on CCTV footage that we've been shown in court, even at this point. That leads on to arrests. That leads on to myself and Paddy McAvoy being in Store Street, Garda Station for a couple of days. John Alcock, Ray Moss, as far as I know, were Mount Jai, and Mary Teeling was taken to another location. I haven't been speaking to Mary since, so I'm not quite sure what that location was. That led to us being brought to the court in the I would like to bring this to people's attention. On the Saturday morning, the event happened. On the Saturday evening, I was in Store Street Guard Station. I was asked if I wanted a solicitor. God rest him, Tommy Toker had told me Michael Finucane was a great solicitor, and on that recommendation, I said I'll speak to Michael Finucane. So Michael Finucane, I spoke to him on the phone, and he was unavailable. He was in Barcelona, and he told me if I wanted to get somebody else that was grand. I said, no, Michael, that's enough. So I went into the interview, and under the circumstances, and when I was asked questions, it was either no comment or I need to speak to Michael Finucane. He's in Barcelona. So that was fine. That was Saturday evening, and I'm charged and kept overnight. Sunday evening, 6 o'clock, one of the guards comes to the door and he says, you have a legal visit. I says, I couldn't have. He's in Barcelona. He said he wouldn't be back till the beginning of the week. Well, and I was brought out to an office, and lo and behold, who was sitting there? Only Michael Finucane. And I can assure you, he wasn't coming from Barcelona. He looked like some man was only after getting up with a couch under protest. So, but there was no point in me arguing with him on that particular instance. It was at the end of the day, Tommy Toker, God rest him, had sent him my way. So I said I'd have to give it a chance. That was fine. Then on the Monday, the 20th, we were brought to the CCJ. The rest of the party were the other four co-accused got bail. I was refused bail because of the guards were kicking up about my use of the address in Monaghan, 2728 Market Street. Now, I had the electricity bill was in my name. I'd been using it from a social welfare perspective. There was correspondence from both the social welfare and the SSE electricity in relation to that. and the other side were telling lies in the High Court and avoiding a full hearing. So that brought us then till it was after that court on the 20th. Michael Finucane then came down to see me in the CCJ in the basement, and I says, look, Michael, he was on about a bail address. I says, firstly, Michael, I want an alternative bail address. I says, Michael, the first thing I want is my briefcase, I want my phone, and I want a meeting with you in Clover Hill ASAP. So what went on then that summer, you just had to let it happen. Basically, he avoided then. He was never he avoided being in court himself on the next bail at the next remand hearings. He didn't come up to the jail for a meeting. He never put in a request for my briefcase or my phone. He just basically, I was just being kept in the dark and out of sight, out of mind. Springs to mind. Now we come to the 2nd of September, and Michael Finucane and his agents are supposed to be in the. This is the 2nd of September 22. They're supposed to be in the court in Clover Hill in relation to this remand hearing. There's neither of them in court. It was after this court that I was taken then from Clover Hill into the Clover Hill in handcuffs into the civil courts in the middle of the city there, in relation to Wardley versus Fergal Deary. Now, I shouldn't have been there. Civil matter is not. I was on remand in relation to a criminal matter. So, civil matters are supposed to wait until criminal matters are dealt with. I went in front of the judge on the 2nd of September. She was asking me to give undertakings that I wouldn't return to Master Deary's in Monaghan. I said, look, at Your Honour, this place was stolen. I'm like, this farce has gone on long enough. There needs to be a full hearing on this matter. There should have been a full hearing as far back as 2016. These people have been avoided the elephant in the room. And at that point, the judge says, right, I'm not... she backed down from asking me to give undertakings and said she was just putting it in for a mention on the 4th of October. So if I was released, if I was out and about, would I attend court on the 4th of October? I said, not a problem, Your Honour. So that was fine then. Fast forward to the 4th of October, and an officer comes to the door of the cell on that morning, and he says, you have a bail hearing today. I says, I have no bail hearing today. And he showed me the paperwork and that I was down for a bail hearing. And I says, I have no bail hearing. So I was again put in handcuffs, taken into the forecourts in the city centre for a civil matter, which, anyway, for this Wardley versus Fergal Deary. And at this point, I says to the judge, I says, Your Honour, I'm questioning the legality of me even being here today, given I'm on remand for a criminal matter that's connected. I told him I needed my briefcase, my phone, and that I was in no position to deal with anything. I had no legal representation there. Michael Finucane had disappeared. So the judge at that point then said, well, Mr. Deary, this is unprecedented, which it is. So he says, Mr. Deary, well, I'll put you on video link on this matter on the 8th of November. So that's the way it was left, for a video link on the 8th of November. Now, subsequently, there was another remand hearing in Clover Hill on the 28th of October. I was brought down to the cells in the morning. I sat in the cells until lunchtime. I was then brought up into the court, as I was also getting the book of evidence for Foley's. And who was sitting in the court? Only Michael Finucane. He walked straight over to me and he says, you're going to have to get yourself a new solicitor. Oh, like a spoiled child. I couldn't, So I just sat there calmly, and the guard come over, handed me the book of evidence in the court. Anyone that's been in Cloverhill there will know what happens. And I took the book of evidence off him. Michael Finucane then came over, and then I let Michael Finucane continue in court. The court finished. He asked to see me at this stage. I met him in a room off the court. He asked me for the book of evidence, and I says, "Look, you're after resigning, so in court. So, well, you know, he hadn't resigned in court at that stage. You're after resigning. You said they told me to get a new solicitor. So look, just send me a letter of resignation or whatever you do, you know." So look at folks, Michael Finucane turned out to be a nightmare, a complete nightmare. And only I needed to get him to a point that he resigned rather than me sacking him, because God rest him now, I was thinking of the relationship myself and Tommy Toker had built up on the outside. So then we'll move forward to, I'm supposed to be then presented in the CCJ on the 17th of November. I'm not presented. I'm left sitting in the jail. And then it materialises that Michael Finucane was in the CCJ for me on the 17th of November, even though he had come off record in Cloverhill Court prior to that date. So look at folks. People like these people think they can get away with everything just because when someone is you're on your own, and it's very hard for people to get the truth out there. Then we had the Tracy Horn episode that started on the 16th of December. I was taken to the CCJ. Ray Moss was also in the CCJ on that day, so he can clarify this. After court, Alex Ra, I had told the judge, "Your Honour, I'm not in a position to make any plea. These are civil matters. The guards have turned them into criminal matters. We're waiting on G-Stock to do an investigation." At that point, Alex Rafter came to see me down in the bottom of the CCJ, and he says, "Oh, I know somebody who'll be able to do this case. He's a brilliant barrister." I said, "Dead on. I've heard this 100 times before." But that was fine. Then Alex Rafter and Tracy Horn were supposed to come and do something. Come the middle of January, they still hadn't come to the jail, although they were telling John and Ray different stories. And at the end of the January, beginning of February, I then went on hunger strike or food refusal. And the reason I did that was to give the boys some leverage to push Tracy Horn, because I knew she'd been telling lies. So Tracy at that point came up to the jail, and again there was I gave her direction, and she was disingenuous. She didn't even turn up in court herself. She sent some of her other people. So it was after that, then it was quite clear, even from John and Ray's experience, that Tracy Horn needed to go, and John can clarify that. Now we're down to 5 minutes here, so I'm going to fast forward to the summer of 23. Again, more remand courts. Then we move into the Christmas of 23. And we're headed for we'll move into the September, October 23, and Maddie comes on record. Herself and a barrister come up here. She comes up a couple of times. The last time she then came up with a barrister on the 18th of December or 18th of November. And we had a discussion around everything, and this is one of the particular documents that I showed the barrister. I said, "How can these people be acting in the High Court on the basis of a draft letter sent to me?" Now I've sent out a package of there's a package of stuff with Stephen there, and they were given copies of all that stuff. They told me that they would come. That they would back up. The barrister's name on the day was David Nugent, and we're now at, as I say, on the 18th of January, and they haven't been back up here in relation to this matter yet. Now, I also showed them on that day. I says, there's one of the main men here. I says, Stephen Tennant from Grant Thornton. He has signed fraudulent documents that were used for the transfer of Master Dairies and the junction into the Banty's hands. And he says, that's terrible. And I'm going to get on to this barrister here that's mentioned in this paperwork, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I can guarantee you, he has done nothing on he disappear. Now, and it's look at, I just happen to have a vast amount of patience built up, so therefore I was able to withstand the pressure. Now, so within that package, those people were given letters from G-Stock, a copy of Finucane's letter, copies of Tracy Horn's letters, copies of letters in relation to Tony Donoghue, copies of correspondence with G-Stock, and even if we have typed out a letter that went to the President of the High Court in Dublin. And I think, how many minutes have I left there?
You have just over 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Well, look at folks. I will leave. We're down now to 2 minutes, so I don't want to start this letter to David Bardavell of the President of the High Court. I will put it into the next podcast, and I'll put a little more beef on what we've spoken about today. But Maddie was on the phone to Micheál last Friday. That would have been the what date would last Friday have been, Stephen?
What are we today?
Sorry?
Sorry, I don't have I'm using my phone.
14th. Sunday was the 14th. So Saturday was the 13th. Friday was the 12th. Friday the 12th of January 2024. Micheál got speaking to Maddie on the phone, and she said she was with an issue getting a visit in the jail. That's complete lies. Any of those solicitors can get a visit within 24 hours, and that hasn't happened.
Less than 1 minute.
There's been no video link with her either, and there's been no phone call from her either to the jail. So we're in a very precarious legal position here. I would, as long as Micheál and John and Ray digest the entire information in this video, it would help them recall various things that they remember now over the course of the last 18 months. But look at, as I say, this is now just to have a volume of information ready to pop into the public arena before any trial happens, because otherwise they will just railroad out over the top of the truth here. And then in relation to discovery and protect all that sort of stuff, I was handed this file on a Thursday and told there was going to be a trial on a Friday to do a Foley's. If they were telling the truth, if everything was fair, there would be at least 4 of these files to cover everything that's in the briefcase and all the emails and all the other correspondence that are in the Garda stations in Store Street and Pearse Street in relation to all these matters. So look at again, we've